I'm Patrick Murtaugh. I'm one of the co-founders and the brewmaster at Hardywood.
And how did you get started in brewing?
Should I look
Yeah,
at
yeah,
you or the
yeah,
camera?
yeah.
All right. So I started homebrewing shortly after a trip to Australia. I was over there just sort of backpacking around and met up with a friend of mine that I'd grown up with there, Eric, and we had met up at a sheep farm called Hardywood Park, and we'd kind of just worked there for a week, herding sheep, delousing sheep, and just doing whatever needed to be done. And at the end of the day, we'd finish with a glass of the farmer's homebrewed beer, and it just kind of blew us away that beer could have that much flavor. And he showed us a few things about homebrewing, and shortly after that, we got back home and tried out homebrewing ourselves, and quickly decided we wanted to make a career out of it and start a brewery.
Cool. So this isn't a flag waver for Virginia. I mean, there's good things, showing the bad things, everything else. So tell us what your perspective. You moved from New York City.
Yeah.
So what's your perspective of Virginia in this area?
This area, I mean, I didn't know much about Virginia. I'd never really spent much time in Virginia before moving here, but it's a great area. I mean, I really didn't spend much time outside of Richmond when I first moved here for the first 6 months. Just very preoccupied getting this set up. But Virginia's just got a lot to offer. It's got a lot of just beautiful nature. I mean, Richmond itself has a really rich history. It's a beautiful town. It's got a beautiful river running right through it that has Class 5 rapids. You can go kayaking and whitewater rafting, which is pretty unusual for a big city. So it really has a lot to offer.
So what's your family history?
My family history, well, on the brewing side of things, my mother's great-grandfather, my great-grandfather was a brewer around the turn of the century. He was a German immigrant and was a brewmaster at a conglomerate of breweries called the Springfield Breweries. And yeah, he was the brewmaster there from, I think, around 1890 right up until Prohibition. My great-grandfather was also a brewer, and he went to the same brewing school that I did, the Siebel Institute in Chicago. And his son, my great-uncle, was a brewer. And yeah, so I have a little bit of brewing in my family tree.
Do you think that shaped you at all to what you do now?
It definitely inspired me. I started brewing before I really learned anything about my family's brewing history, but it definitely spurred me to continue and to really get deeper into it, I guess you could say.
How far back in your family history can you go?
Really just up until my great-great-grandfather, that brewer. I think I found out most about him, or first found out about him when I read an old obituary I found in a scrapbook in my parents' attic. And since then I've done a little bit of research and found out a few more things.
So for all you know, you could have some monks making
Sure.
in your family.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder
500
that.
years ago.
Yeah, if there's any way to do
Yeah.
research past that, I would love to. I'm not that deep into genealogy, I guess, but yeah, I'm sure his father. I mean, most of those German immigrants, were sort of in the family business. So I'm sure somewhere else beyond my great-great-grandfather, there were brewers in the family.
Sure. Yeah. What's your favorite place?
My favorite place of all time, or my favorite place in Richmond?
We'll do Richmond first.
Richmond. Favorite place in Richmond. I would have to say when I first moved here, whenever I go to a new city for the first time, I go for a run, and it's probably the best way to explore a city and get to know it. You cover a lot of ground and sort of get lost and try and find your way back. And when I was running around here, I ran down near the river and came across the old pump house. And it's this beautiful old building, and I guess they used to have receptions and balls there way back, I think 100 years ago. I don't fully know the history of it, but it's this beautiful old building that I would love to see restored someday. And just kind of walked around there for a little bit when I was sort of exploring, and came across all these little plaques, and really wasn't a well-developed area. It's not a park. It's not really displaying the rich history that it has. But just sort of walking down by the water, came across a little plaque that stated that George Washington once had lunch under this old relic of a bridge, and so I think that's just a good example of all the little bits of history, these little secret bits of history that this city has.
What's your favorite place beyond Richmond?
Beyond Richmond? I guess I have a couple. Where I grew up in New York City. I guess that always just feels like home. When I was studying brewing in Germany, I had gone to a town. I had a little brewing apprenticeship in Bamberg, and that city was one of the most incredible I've ever seen. It's one of these towns that was fairly untouched during World War II. So without the cars, you'd really think you were back a few hundred years ago. It's
cool.
Incredible town.
What's in your backyard?
What's in my backyard? Well, I'm renting a house in the Fan, or it's an apartment in the Fan. So there's not much. I have a little porch, and then leading off of that, there's my landlord had devised a little corral for his dog. So there's a little gated dirt area next to a driveway.
Last question. What are your hopes?
My hopes, career-wise, I'd love to see this brewery continue to grow and develop, and be a good partner to the community in Richmond, and maintain just great quality and produce great quality beers. My hopes for Richmond is that it continues to evolve and embrace creativity and new business, and just continues to thrive, and that it reaches the potential that it seems to be on the verge of being something great.
That's great. I actually have one more question.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say 100 years from now, what do you imagine your company that you just founded, 10 years ago you said? 10 years ago?
What this company?
Yeah.
It was two and a half years ago.
Oh, 2.5 years.
Yeah, we started home brewing about 10 years ago, and got the idea to do it, and just raised money and stuff like that over the last 10 years. Worked in the industry, but actually got the brewery off the ground October 2011.
Cool. So we're coming in early then.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
100 years from now, what do you think Hardywood is going to be? You're long gone, and everyone here is long gone.
I mean, it's really hard to say. The whole brewing industry is changing so much. There's so many different breweries opening up. I'd like to think Hardywood would still be around 100 years from now. Doesn't necessarily need to be the biggest brewery, but I'd love to see it continuing to do good things. Maybe, hopefully, still in one of our families. But I guess continuing to make great beer.
That's great. You guys have any questions? All right.
All right.
Thanks.
Sorry, I was a little jumbled.
No, you weren't at all.
No, that's great.